making the not so obvious obvious.
This video is part of Shut Up and Shoot, that famous ebook, you know, the one you should be getting now. Howdy and welcome again to the fundamental video tutorials, or tutorials on the fundamentals of Adobe Premiere Pro, and this is version CS 5.5, and we'll probably cover all the way through CS 200,000X, because that's how it works in the software industry. They will come out with new versions, but usually they work with legacy functions. At least we hope. Alright, in any case, I am sitting here and I am going to create a new project because that's what we do and that's how we roll. And this is basically going to be set up for the purpose of cutting up stock footage. This is for stock footage clipping and slicing and dicing. Alright, so we have a display format which I really recommend you keep on timecode, because if you go to frames you're going to have to sit and calculate how many frames, etc., using a calculator, and it's visually just not as pretty. Timecode makes it a lot easier. You'll be able to see very quickly how long your clips are. As far as the capture format goes, we're not really capturing anything, so I would leave that at HDV. But if you are going to connect your camera up, or a tape deck, for example, like a Sony M10U, which is a DV or HDV tape deck for those mini DV tapes, then you're going to want to select which format you're going. And most commonly you're going to go with HDV, but don't discount DV, because you may have some legacy footage which is historical and it may be very valuable. Always check your old footage if you're getting into this industry, because you never know what you got, and amazingly enough you might find some really cool historical stuff that's of value. So keep that in mind. Most agencies prefer to only get HD stuff today. However, if it's really good footage and it's of value, they will accept standard def, which is, you know, that 4:3, the old television sets, and 720x480. Ring a bell? Okay. I assume you're with me on this. If you get lost, feel free to raise your hand. I won't see it, so I'll just keep going anyways. Alright. I am just going to start a new project, and this is going to give me an error because I already had a couple projects called demo. By the way, use your file structure the way you want, and if you need some ideas on that, it's in the ebook. Yes, you know, that famous ebook. And it'll kind of give you a guide as far as how to keep your files organized. The object is you should be able to come back in a couple of years to a drive where you've archived all this footage and be able to reload these projects or look at the footage and first be able to find it. So use common sense when you're doing this. Alright, let's go, and I'm going to confirm that this is overwrite. You won't get that error message unless you're duplicating and writing over, and which I don't recommend. Always start a new project. So in any case, you have a bunch of presets here, and I gotta say Adobe is really good about keeping up to date on all the possible formats and incoming presets for all the variety of cameras out there. However, as you see down here, we have a custom, and I built these just for giggles and grins to show that you can do custom ones, so that if your camera or the format that your camera records in is not to be found in any of these presets, you can simply go to the settings tab and go to custom and start building all your own information, and just get all the specifications from your manual from the camera so that you can make it match. Alright, but we're not going to do that. I've already got a couple of presets done. So let's go back over here. I'm going to go to custom, Sony HVR1U, go to settings. Here's my custom preset. In any case, you get the idea. If we reset this 1920 by 1080, if I set this to 1440, then it will match down here and keep that. So basically iframe only is very common, motion JPEG. Alright, and then you click save and it would save this preset again. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to clutter up my stuff. I am going to bring in some footage knowing in advance that I'm bringing in 30p, 1080 30p. And remember, 30p means 29.97, not 30 frames as whole frames, but 29.97 frames per second. You could bring in 24 if you had your camera set in mode for cinematic effect, or 25 if you're in Europe. That's the PAL standard. And funny enough, the PAL standard truly is 25 frames per second. The other option that's common is, particularly when you're shooting for future slow motion production, you might shoot at 720p, 60 frames per second, or in reality 59.94 frames per second. And that format is 1280 by 720, which is still considered HD. Okay? Alright, I am just going to simply select what I've got because I shot with a T2i, which is the baby 7D, and this would also apply to your 5D Mark II and many other cameras and many other brands such as Panasonic and so on and so forth. So make sure you collect or select the correct preset for your project. Alright, and I'm going to name the sequence. Now, the name can be changed anytime, but since I already know I'm going to bring in barn footage, I'm going to just call it barn, and off we go. So now I have a sequence up here that has absolutely nothing in it. I need to bring footage in. So there's a couple of very easy clicks here to do that. Much like in After Effects, you'll notice that this layout has a bunch of windows and they can all be resized and yada yada, so on and so forth. But in the project itself, all you need to do is double click and voila, it opens up File Manager, and now you can simply select the clips that you would like. And I'm just going to bring this one in too because it's a little bit different, and it will load and import those files. So now that we have all our files loaded, we can actually do a couple of things here. One is we could drag one of these files. Actually, let me deselect. We could drag one of these files into our source, and we can scroll through it and see what we like and get some idea of where we might want to cut some stuff. Or we can simply drop it right down into the timeline, and now it shows up in the actual program window. So this would be your input, and this is what it's going to be for output. But for the purpose of chopping, slicing, and dicing stock footage, this is somewhat irrelevant for us right now, because I'm going to show you a dirty trick, and it starts off by simply taking all your footage and dropping it on the timeline. And you'll notice this last piece of footage, first of all, is a little bit different. It has no audio. So I'm going to go on there, and there you go. Ooh, our planet. This is actually a clip from NASA, and it was just something I got just to have something a little bit different here because, you know, barns are nice, but hey, space is cool. So I'm going to work on this in the next tutorial and show you how we start chopping up this footage and getting it ready for render. So stay tuned. See you in a few.